To put it quite simply, rental arbitrage, particularly when it comes to Airbnb, is when an Airbnb host rents a property from another landlord. Could be renting just a house or a typical apartment, and then rents it out to another party, without the stress of actually being the homeowner. Renters can sublet for a profit through this method, but how does rental arbitrage work exactly? Or better yet, how can you make a full-time income using this strategy on Airbnb? Well, if you stick around to the end of this video, I'll give you all the tools and resources you need to become successful in this industry. Not only that, but we'll explain the pros, cons, and actions you will take to sustain your hosting career. And if you're new to the channel, we post videos every week on this topic, so make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Now let's get started. How do I start doing rental arbitrage? Essentially, the first thing you've got to do when starting an Airbnb business is to get acquainted with the platform. Obviously, you have to know what you're stepping into before starting. What exactly is Airbnb rental arbitrage? What does it entail, how it works, and how your profits are made? Since you avoid ownership stress and still make profits, you're still losing equity. How do you go about this to make maximum profit? Those are some of the few things you should know before getting in. Get acquainted with short-term rentals. People go on vacation at various hotspots and they all need places to stay while on a trip. Just think about it. Not everybody has a penthouse or beach house near their favorite visiting spots. Airbnb is almost like their home away from home on a short-term basis, ranging from a day to a couple of months or even a yearly reservation like a normal rental property. Rather than renting an incomplete or unfurnished building, Airbnb hosts rent out their finished homes to individuals looking to stay for a short basis. You also rent out finished houses which have been leased by yourself or your business. So you are granting accommodation and experiences to your potential guests without ownership of the property. That's it. That's the basis of rental arbitrage. How to register your rental business. It's not every day you can just walk up to a stranger with a property somewhere and just ask permission to use it. You'll have to strike deals with landlords of prospective units. What better way to ensure you actually look presentable than getting registered? Get a business name. If you can get a location, that's fine. If you can't, it's totally fine, as it's not necessary. Here comes the registering part. File for an LLC, which, trust me, is a lot easier than people may think. Registering your business also removes any future damage to your personal name. You can file for an LLC on LegalZoom.com, so you can rent Airbnb houses in your business name. On the other hand, you can lease a house if you're not interested in renting from landlords. Since your business is a registered one, you can get a corporate lease and get yourself a house. I should also add you don't need to delay getting on with your plans before filing for an LLC. How do I partner with a potential landlord? Let's put it this way. You can rent a house from landlords who want to make passive income with their extra houses by creating a win-win situation for both parties. When renting houses from landlords, you want to make them as sure as possible that they can trust who they are handing over their house to. Now, to do this, you must enlighten them on who you are, who you serve, which Airbnb customers you are providing accommodation for, and how exactly they can contact you. Then you pretty much create a win-win situation for both of you, so you can see what both parties are getting. When you and the landlords finally agree on the conditions of your contract, make sure to get it in physical form to have a testimonial of said contract. While striking deals, never lie to your landlord and try to overpitch it as well. How do I furnish the property? Now, most Airbnb houses are furnished based on the experience you want to be providing for your guests, the area your house is in, and whatever theme you feel guests might enjoy. Do a little bit of research to reduce your cost for furnishing. Just remember that your gains come from only cash flow, since with rental arbitrage there's no equity. Also, it's important to get a professional photographer to take pictures of your home for future listings. Photos taken by a professional come out way better than the average photos. It makes the spaces come out wider and with better pixels. Spend this money. Trust me, it'll be the biggest return on investment you'd ever get, as bookings are more likely to come in with those. Study and choose your market. Just by studying the market, you get acquainted with the demand, occupancy, and even the nightly rates of other properties in your location, which helps you to set your prices. Tourism has an enormous role to play. You need to ask yourself why your guests would want to be in your location. A site like AirDNA helps you achieve this with ease. As a homeowner, pricing is a very huge factor, as a high price can scare customers away and a low one can reduce your possible profit. When setting prices, it's very important to take into account the seasonality of your hosting unit, various peak seasons and periods that each best suit a particular price. When doing this every time you want to make a new listing or get a new customer for a particular season, It can be stressful and will take time, which is you losing potential money, or you could sign up for automated pricing. I'd also recommend Price Labs or Beyond for their easy-to-access interface. Do not limit your unit to one specific area. Still relating to the area, if you start hosting on Airbnb and you start with your home in a saturated area, you might just be headed to a quick end, as most people would not go for newbies when there are hosts with loads of good reviews. The marketplace might not be accepting, and you end up getting little or no bookings. It's not only starters who have issues in these areas, but experienced hosts as well. Your prices depend on a specific area and season you are in. If you have no clue what the price and occupancy rates of your zip code are, then you cannot gauge how much profit you could be making. The more your area of residence allows for good prices, the quicker you get to break even and make profits. If you don't familiarize yourself with other price rates in nearby areas, you might as well run at a loss, or not make as much as you should during certain seasons. In the long run, it all comes crashing down when you limit your hosting to one particular area. This is a common mistake people make with rental arbitrage. Always avoid overscaling. Just as you do with anything, your goals have to be realistic. If you learn from a rental arbitrage instructor who, for example, says they have made $3 million from just $600,000, when you carry this picture in your head without backing it up with data and calculations, you'd have a huge issue in the long run. Overscaling your profit margins and how much you take from the table might affect your cash flow management. As I earlier said, a major con of rental arbitrage is the fact that you only have cash flow, not equity. Speaking of cash flow, you should never assign jobs to dollars without the right amount of calculation. What I mean by that is what you use your money for should be based on calculations and not your instructor's progress. In another example, you could make $25,000 as profit in a month, and the next month you're back to being broke without even realizing it. This is common because you feel that's your profit and should not be put back into your unit. Never use your mentor or instructor's progress as your yardstick. Know your area conditions and regulations. Now, there are a lot of cases where some areas over time enforce policies and regulations that stop the continuation of rentals in that unit. This can leave you at a huge loss, especially if it comes at a new month, season, or year. I know rental arbitrage and ownership aren't necessarily linked, but I mean a huge reason you do arbitrage is because you don't need ownership or stress. In cases like this, I'd advise you to buy the property when you get news of such policies coming into place. This is another reason why researching your area and units will pay off. Buying the rental not only leaves you with security but also appreciation and equity as well. Now, if you still have questions about running a successful rental arbitrage business, watch this video next where I'll explain step by step how to get going. If you found any of this helpful, hit the thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm so it can be spread to more people. So click the video on the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.